Hi, this is Hugo from CircusConcepts. Today I'm going to show you the unboxing the parts and the assembly of the Home Plus and Home Max Quadripods. So they will come in a box like this, and then you will open it from this. I do have my travel bag here. There will be a link in the description where you can buy this on Amazon. We don't make those. We will create our own version pretty soon, but for now there will be a link if you want to get one of those. In your box you will get a bunch of parts. Initially you will get cables, small, medium, large. So actually, sorry, the Home Plus, Home Max Quadripods. You will get your head, the head of the quadripod, which comes with a swivel here, swiveling head. So you already have a swivel included in your system. It's locked in place. You have the new, we are SQ11 model right now. You have two adjustable parts here, which I'll explain later how to adjust to have double point setup or single point on a swivel, and the head. Now you will get 4 of those leg ends, which is the bottom part. You will get 2 of those, like with a cleat. So the cleat is to tie your rope when you're going to be using the Home Max setup. And then you will get normal legs. So you will have a different amount of normal legs depending on the height you're going to be using. Okay, well, you got everything. Alright, so now that you're ready to assemble your quadripod, you're going to lay down everything you need on the floor. First of all, you're going to inspect everything, take a look. When you're going to be inspecting everything, you take a look if you don't see any damage, any cracks or anything. On these parts, the weld is the little dot here on both sides. They should be attached together, and there should be a pin going up and down in each one of those. For the head, whenever you're going to be inspecting the head, you got to make sure here you have the swiveling head. There's a pin locking the nut here, so I'll be swiveling, the pin has to be in position and the screw has to go out of the nut a little bit, like it is, just barely. Now these ones you will fix them if you need later, that will be part of the instruction. And then you're going to keep a little eye on all the welds here on each place on each end. You can take a closer look. Take a look, you see all the welds are all full, there's no cracks, you don't see any damages. You took the outside, the inside. You take a look at both ends. So it's a very good habit to inspect your quadripod every time you're going to assemble it. Now, when you're ready for assembly, first thing, if you haven't done that already, you're going to put the leg ends onto the legs. There's just a little pin here. Take out the pin, take it out. The leg ends have one end which is cut at an angle with a hole in the side. That's how you can detect them. There's no joint on it. So you put this in the same angle as it. You put the pin through it, find its way through, and put the little hairpin at the end. You've assembled the bottom legs. Very simple part. And now you're going to decide if you're going to set it up in the home, so 7.5, 11.5, or 15.5 foot. If you're going to be assembling in the 7.5 foot section, let's go over here. We're going to be going with just a bottom leg part and a first leg part. If you're going to do the Home Plus, bottom leg part, 2 standard legs. If you're going to do the Home Plus or Max, it's going to be bottom part, then the one with the cleat, then the other 2 standard leg parts. So that's going to be the shape of each one of the legs. So for the assembly of your home quadripods, the first thing you're going to do, you already did an inspection, make sure everything was there. You're going to set up those if you're going to need those at a certain distance. Very important, they have to be set up at an equal distance from the middle. So when you set them up, you measure. Here I put them at 12 inch on each side, 12 inch, 12 inch. Once it's set up at 12 inch, you're going to need 2 tools, ideally a wrench like this or a smaller one, and a Phillips screwdriver. What's important, you can also use good vice grips, but a wrench is much better. What's important to understand for the setup of those, on the position, you're going to tighten with the screwdriver, and when it gets tight, you want to tighten with the screw, with the wrench, sorry, because that's the strongest part. So you finish turning the wrench and not the screwdriver. Once they're all really tight, they will wiggle a little bit, but they won't be able to move, especially when there's tension. So the top wiggles because they're only locked at the bottom, but there's no problem. That's how it works. Okay. Once you've set up those at equal distance, never put them offset or something, because a quadripod really likes to work at equal centered weight. Okay, so you have this setup, and then you have this center eye bolt, which is swiveling, so you don't need a swivel. So you can hang on to this directly without using any swivel, your apparatus. Once you're ready, you've done that, what are you going to do? You're going to set up your whole cable around. Okay, you're going to set up all the legs. So in this case, I have my 4 legs for each one because I'm putting at the highest distance on the floor. When you set them up on the floor, very important to be careful. No debris here, so you can clean it up with your fingers. It's important, it's very clean, and clean up that side. Because if there's some debris inside, it could size up and lock your joints together, and it's very hard to undo them after. So I put them here. I do not have the best floor. Ideally, you want to have a really flat surface, so the 4 legs are really equal on the floor. And if they're not equal, you want to shim them. So you want to put something under it, unassemble, so the 4 legs touch evenly the floor at the same time. All right. So once ready for assembly, my tools away. First thing I recommend, you're gonna hook whatever you're gonna hook on top of it to your quadripod. Okay, whatever it's apparatus, pulley system, or something. In this case, I use a travel weight bag, which is very useful if you're traveling. Now, to set it up, you put it on the side here. To insert the leg, very simple. Take one of the normal legs. You put it in the head, and really, I have the habit, but I take always like around the 2/3. So to align it good, you push on the little button, careful not to squeeze your fingers, push it down, turn it until it locks. You see the push button is out here, that means it locked. So now you repeat the same action with all of the pieces. So, once you put the first 4 legs in, what do you want to do? You want to very carefully lift it up, put it flat, be very careful not to damage anything. Ideally, if you can put it flat on a ground where there's no dust and everything that this ground here is not, and this ground there is, it's much better. All right. So now we're going to set up the quadripod. We already put in the legs as you saw from closer up. Now we're going for further distance so you can see what we're doing. What you have to be very careful in the beginning when you set it up, there's a few tricks that you're going to get used to, like always holding the way you hold the pole and you hold the thing. It's important to lift each side evenly, because if one person lifts and the other one pulls, the tripods want to fall on one side. So you have to be very careful like that, and then just keep an eye and be very careful in the beginning, and with practice it's going to become very quick and easy. So also always remember to wash the joints a little bit with your hands. That's why my hands are dirty, because I wash them with my hands every time to make sure I don't have anything catching up. Let's go. see when you get to the higher section, it's good to have always careful in this position. Somebody holds it and he has to kind of pull to keep the balance from the other legs to compensate. When he's pulling up, the other person putting the legs in. So all these steps until this point you can do alone. This step it's really better if you do it with two people. As you can see, as soon as I let go this one, I go hold this one because it's a very unstable position like this. That should come. Up. Now, there's a few things that you have to check. I'm going to catch that camera. So, once you're set up, the angle of the legs can actually turn a little bit. There's a bit of place you can turn it. So, put the angle at 45 degrees. Make sure all your push buttons are in, all the way to the top. Make sure your structure is stable. So if it's not stable, like in my case, I should add some little bit of blocks here to keep it as even on the forefoot as possible. This is going to help a lot. And to set up the legs, well, I'm going to show you real quick. So the legs, sometimes you might have to move them. How it works is, come closer please. So there's a little stopper here on the four corners, okay? So the stopper, you have to go in between those two. So you put it in, put cable on one side, slide it on the other side, push it down, then pull the leg back. So that's how. In the slider, it can move a little bit right and left, which is totally normal. And as you saw, at the end of the setup, we pull the legs apart to make sure the cables are tight. That's going to make sure that the position of the legs is in the right order. That's it, mostly. As you can see, very important not to forget, the cleats have to be in the opposite direction. Cleat here, the other cleat is over there in the other corner. You can look at the camera. Cleats are opposite corner, and that is to even up the loads when you're going to use different cables. If you use two cables from the top, you put them opposite corners to even up the loads on the legs. That's it. Always be careful when set up the tripod. You're responsible of your safety. Be careful and enjoy. Be safe. If you're going to be using the tripod, the quadripod at this age, obviously you should be using a mat under if you're going to do any acrobatics that could be dangerous in any ways. There's any chance of falling, most probably. I recommend using a mat under it. And that's it. There will be a separate videos on the different rigging options, but by far the best way to set it up is to hook directly to the top. As you can see, it's very easy to set it up and down. You can actually also remove all the legs from one side directly to clip and unclip something to the top and change it, so it's very quick. And this is the cheapest and the most affordable, I'm sorry to say, and the most efficient way to clip is using this. Using pulleys and ropes works very well if you need to change it often, but it increases a lot the load on the quadripods because the rope relays the forces. So on a separate video you'll see the rigging options if you want to use rope and pulleys, but really the best is hook up directly to the top, bring it up, bring it down. That's it. Thank you for watching. Enjoy.